Let's begin! Gungrave VR U.N is a standalone game. You don't need Gungrave VR to play it, but it does take place after the first game. Most of the combat is the same as Gungrave VR, so I won't be covering the basics of it here. So I would suggest watching my Gungrave VR review before this one. Once again, there isn't too much storyline here. You get a brief text introduction and short animation explaining that you have received intel on a chemical plant where suspicious life forms suggest the presence of seed again, so you go there to take a look around. Unlike the first game, the majority of this one takes place in side-scrolling levels. There are a few third-person sections, but most of your time will be spent moving from left to right. All of your moves are the same in these sections. You can shoot, melee, dodge, and use special moves when they have been powered up. The only real difference is one of your special moves no longer cuts to a black screen, which is an improvement. The problem with having the exact same moves in a 2D space is that the game becomes easier. Apart from missiles that you deflect back at enemies with a melee attack, and shielded enemies that you break through with the same attack, you only need to shoot left and right, so it does lose some of the intensity found in the third person parts of the game. It only really gives you a real challenge when it throws a few enemies your way. Enemy variety is pretty decent. Some attempt to snipe you whilst hanging from a rope, some throw bombs your way, and some explode leaving a deadly cloud of gas. It would have been great if the locations had been given as much variety as the enemies, because they become very repetitive early on. Some parts even seem like they have been copied and pasted. The visuals here do get quite dull quickly. The destruction looks quite nice in the third person sections though, as long as you're not near it, as you can go inside for debris. It's not the best in the 2D sections at all though. The explosions look good, but the debris afterwards jumps around quite awkwardly for a couple of seconds, and then it just disappears. It doesn't look great at all. Also not having a consistent transition is how you move from one part of a level to another. The screen simply goes black and you spawn somewhere new. The lack of your character entering a door or even having a teleportation device just makes the whole game feel quickly stitched together. To change the gameplay up a bit, there is a section where you fly through a tunnel while shooting wooden barriers and missiles. You must also dodge lasers, which actually require you to move around in the real world. You don't need to stand up to allow for more room in this section, so the game is fully playable seated. It's an alright change of pace, but isn't anything amazing. 2 of the 3 boss battles are done well, and do change up the pacing of the gameplay greatly. These require much quicker reactions, and learning each of the boss's moves is essential to beating them. One takes place in the third person mode, and the other 2 in side-scrolling sections. They really are the highlight of the game, due to the amount of different moves they throw your way. There is only 3 stages, and they're all incredibly easy on the normal difficulty. This is probably due to the more simplistic side-scrolling gameplay. It only took me around 40 minutes to beat all the stages. If you do the tutorial, you can add about another 8 minutes onto that, but it is the same tutorial as the first games. The game does come with harder difficulties, and each level's scores are attached to them, so there is some replayability if score chasing is what you're into. Unfortunately, you will have to create your own aims when score chasing in the higher difficulties, as there isn't even any trophies rewarded for playing on harder settings. The trophy list is actually very similar to the other Gungrave game. It includes your basics like completing tutorial and each stage, and the rest are mainly grindy ones for things such as killing enemies with one of your weapons and getting over 1000 headshots. They're not difficult to get at all, they're just a bit tedious. The only decent inclusion here is for getting an SS rank on all the stages whilst playing on normal difficulty, which I done on my first attempt and didn't die once, so it did take some replayability away from the game. Looking back on the game, you have to give credit where credit is due, and the amount of enemy variety including the boss battles is fantastic for such a short game. I also somewhat enjoyed the tunnel section, as it completely caught me off guard and entirely changed the way I was playing the game, which was much needed during the side-scrolling sections. The challenge in the first game is lost in this one though, and it's simply a dull looking world. Apart from the occasional enemy flying towards your face after defeat, there's not a whole lot of interesting things to look at. You would have thought the second game in this series would have confidence in you and challenge you more, but it takes a step back from the first game in both the visuals and gameplay. If you haven't already seen my review of Gungrave VR, there is a video on screen right now. As always, if you found this review helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more PSVR content.